Stafford's premier division was set for another year of the stiffest competition in weekly short track racing. 10 different SK Modified drivers found victory lane in 2021, but it was Todd Owen finally claiming his first SK Modified title. After almost 2 decades of racing and multiple runner-up finishes, Owen and the 81 team were able to put it together for the whole year, earning the grand prize. The Summers native was looking to join an exclusive list of drivers to earn back-to-back SK championships. But over a dozen teams are also shooting for the title, with 15 drivers having a chance to win any given week. 2021 ended with a photo finish. 2022 would wind up starting in the same fashion. The division's most recent winner, David Arute, led the field to the green flag, but Todd Owen would take control, passing the fellow Chassis Pro 75. Marcello Refrano's run would come to a very early end after contact with Jimmy Blewett. On the restart, 2-time champion Ronnie Williams would slip by the reigning champion to take the lead. The race would be hampered by several yellow flags, including one for Daniel Wesson monster trucking David Arute's hood. Jimmy Blewett's eventful feature saw him penalized to the rear, work his way to the front before going around 2 separate times. Owen would regain the top spot on a restart, but with less than 10 laps to go, Brian Narducci in the Ted Christopher throwback scheme took a shot at his former car owner and teammate Owen. The 85 would lead at the white flag, but a multi-car incident would force the field to re-rack for a green-white checker. Owen and Narducci would race Nerf bar to Nerf bar for the final 2 laps.
As they come off turn number 4, ladies and gentlemen, up and out of your seats. To the line they come. Todd Owen will take down the win.
24 thousandths of a second between the top 2 at the checkered flag.
Well, I think a lot of you know that's a lot more of a battle than just 2 cars in a racetrack. That's I kind of treat Brian sometimes like my son, and I'm actually more proud of him for how he raced me than he'll probably ever know.
The first Friday night of the year opened with Corey DiMatteo up front, but not for long. Brian Sullivan would move to the point. Then it was the Big Hoss USA Racing Products 75. David Arute ended 2021 with his first SK Modified points win. After disappointment at the Spring Sizzler, Arute would sneak by Sullivan after a little bit of contact. Brian Narducci would make his way to second, just within grasp of Arute, but the Stafford native proved too strong. David Arute would hold on for his second SK win in the last 3 races, giving Chassis Pro 2 wins in the season's first 2 races. Steven Kopchik came off a breakout year in 2021, scoring a division-high 5 wins, including 3 in a row. The Airgas 21 started the year with back-to-back top 10s, seeking an early trip to victory lane. Tyler Hines started the 3rd race of the year on the pole. On the 6th lap, Troy Talman would take his 3-car to the lead, but Hines would fight right back. The 2 drivers would exchange the lead a few more times, but Kopchik was lurking in the background. When the time was right, the 21 would make his move underneath Hines. Kopchik was ready to celebrate when a Dylan Kopech spin set the field up for another green-white checker. Kopchik would drive away though, and while the field battled behind him, Steven Kopchik would claim his first win of 2022. The first race of June began with Doug Meservey Jr. in front. Michael Jarvis Jr. would work the outside lane to make his way around the 67. The yellow would fly when contact between Jonathan Pulio and Tyler Hines sent Pulio's right front flying by the flag stand. Jarvis would be swarmed by both Marcello Refrano and Steven Kopchik, with the 88 taking control. Kopchik would go for the bottom shot a few laps later, inching his way past Refrano. The 21 would take the white flag when lap traffic created a very hairy situation.
Oh, trouble now, just in front of the leader. Everybody backs out of it just momentarily. Kopchik back on the throttle. Give credit to his spotter. Here comes Marcello Refrano. They come off turn number 4. Back to the line they come. Double checkers around. Steven Kopcik will take down the win.
Despite the last lap scare, Steven Kopcik quickly became the first repeat winner in the SK Modifieds this season. 2022 marked Brian Narducci's first full season with Petty Cash Motorsports. Narducci holds the early point lead after starting the year off with 4 straight top 5 finishes. The 85 would start race 5 back in 14. His teammate John Montesanto would find the front of the field only for a moment before Michael Jarvis Jr. took over. After a caution, it was Michael Christopher Jr. rolling the top, making his way past the 33. Dylan Kopech and Marcello Refrano would collide in turn 3, leaving Kopech out of the race and frustrated. Christopher would then have a joust with Corey DiMatteo.
Meanwhile, contact up front. DiMatteo trying to hold off Christopher. Christopher got into him, shoves him up the racetrack, and he's back to the lead.
They are 3 wide coming off the turn. Sparks will fly.
Narducci would make one of the best saves of the year to keep the car rolling and hold position. DiMatteo would win out the duel with Christopher, but Narducci was on the move. He took second from Christopher, then went after the Hummel Hot Dogs 11.
DiMatteo hangs on for all he's got in the outside lane, but Brian Narducci to the point in the SK Modified feature.
The 85 would drive on the victory lane. The first win for Narducci with Petty Cash and his second career SK Modified win. Corey DiMatteo's second place run was his third top 10 in 5 races. The Farmington native is racing his first full season with John Hummel after they teamed up late last year. The early portion of the season showed that DiMatteo had a good chance of earning his second career SK win. DiMatteo started race 6 in 8th spot. Dan Wesson would take the early lead. Keith Rocco, in his first full year at Stafford in Mark Payne's 57, would grab the lead momentarily. Ronnie Williams would then take over before caution came out. A mechanical problem added on to what has been a hard luck 2022 for Noah Corner. Marcello Refrano would make his way inside of Williams on the restart. The 88 was now in front. Early leader Wesson would find trouble, but Michael Jarvis Jr. got the worst of the crash. That allowed DiMatteo to pull up on Refrano and go for the bottom shot.
Side by side, they come off the turn. Another lead change is about to take place at the line. It is Corey DiMatteo, the next brand new leader at the front of the field.
DiMatteo would lead the rest of the way to earn his second career SK Modified win, giving John Hummel and the 11 team a long overdue checkered flag. DiMatteo held off Narducci, who finished second, but that result would be taken away after Narducci failed post-race inspection, costing the team 48 points and the point lead. The 85 fell to 4th in the standings, while Steven Kopcik was now on top. Ronnie Williams and the Empower Financial 50 team were off to a solid start this year, sitting second in points after 6 races, scoring top 10s in all features thus far. The feature would start with chaos after contact between Jonathan Pulio and Chris Jones set off a pileup involving the second half of the field. Andrew Moller's rear end was destroyed, but the 35 team worked hard to get the car back on track. Unfortunately, more mechanical problems would sideline the 35 for the rest of the night. Tyler Hines battled Dan Wesson for the lead when something let go in the left front of Hines' car, sending the 58 careening into the guardrail. Once the race finally found a rhythm, Williams watched Wesson and Michael Jarvis Jr. switch the lead back and forth before the 50 decided it was their turn to take the lead. Williams would check out, dominating the feature to score his first SK win of the year, giving the 2-time champion a 12-point advantage in the standings. A true test for the SK Modified teams came on the first weekend of July. 2 races in 2 days, with SRX returning to Stafford for a second time. Finishing on Friday is just as big a key as winning, but 2 of the best drivers this year would not even make it to the 5th lap.
No trouble, turn 3, couple cars to the outside guardrail. Caution is out, and it's going to be Brian Narducci and Ronnie Williams.
Ronnie Williams finished 31st. Narducci ended up 30th and would have to drive the 91 car as a backup the next day. Troy Talman led early, but David Arute, who had struggled since winning on opening Friday night, would take the 75 to the point. Arute would hold off multiple top contenders to earn his second win of the year, showing that Team 75 was no fluke. They were here to compete for more wins. The 75 team's celebration was short, less than 24 hours later, leading into SRX's return to the historic half mile. The SK Modified competitors were back at it for the RaceChoice.com 50. 50 laps, $4,000 to win, a total purse of $31,000. Ronnie Williams and the 50 team had the car repaired in time for the race, but mechanical issues capped off a nightmare weekend that saw the former point leader finish 31st and 30th. The lead would be exchanged between Jonathan Puglia, Michael Christopher Jr., Marcello Refrano, and then Todd Owen. Owen would lead during the race's long run, but a caution for Wesley Prucker and Kurt Brainerd bunched the field back together, causing cautions to breed cautions. Owen seemed to have a faster car, but a problem developed on the Cooker Construction 81. Owen lost power steering. That allowed Refrano to regain the lead, while Owen had to hang on. Racing can be so cruel. Arute won on Friday night, only to end up in a multi-car accident the next day. Refrano is looking for that long-awaited SK Modified win, but would face a challenge from Steven Kopchik.
Refrano is sideways a bit.
Turn 4.
He gathers it back. And again, Marcello Refrano's car gets sideways. Here comes Bello. Bello forced to back out of it.
Kopchik came through when it mattered most, claiming the win and the $4,000 winning prize, leading the SK Modifieds with 3 wins on the year. Todd Owen came out of the doubleheader with the point lead, thanks to back-to-back podium finishes. Tyler Hines returned to the family team for 2022, but the year has not been kind to the K&P Landscaping LLC 58. Despite some good runs, Hines has finished outside the top 10 in the last 3 races. The 58 would have the benefit of starting race 10 on the pole. The feature's first caution would occur after contact between Teddy Hodgson and Dan Wesson sent both cars into the turn 4 guardrail. Hines would go wire to wire, giving the team a massive shot in momentum. It would be SK Modified career win number 3 for the North Haven native. 2022 has passed the halfway point, with Troy Talman pacing the field in the SK Modified Senators Cup. Dan Wesson would soon take the lead before contact between Michael Jarvis Jr. and his car owner Keith Rocco sent the 57 head-on into the concrete. Rocco was okay. His season has been about as rough as that hit. Brian Narducci would then take the top spot from Wesson. Prior contact with the wall caused Steven Kopchik's right front tire to go flat, sending the 21 into the guardrail and out of the race. Narducci and Ronnie Williams gave the crowd a show after the ensuing restart.
Off the turn, he becomes the new leader. 24 laps into the record books, Ronnie Williams puts the Adam Scavura Empower machine into the lead, but it's short-lived.
Narducci right back to the bottom with the crossover a half a lap ago. Brian Narducci back to the point.
Narducci, a real wheel man, and so is it Williams. Off the turn. At the line, it's still Narducci. Williams, Christopher, David Arute, and Marcello Refrano.
Side by side, second time by for the lead up the back straightaway. Ronnie Williams and Brian Narducci.
Following a couple cautions, Michael Christopher Jr. got the jump on the restart, passing Williams for the lead, as Corey DiMatteo's night would end in the pits. Christopher faced pressure from David Arute, who was looking to match Kopchik with 3 wins on the year. Williams would take back second and reel in Arut in the closing laps. Time would run out. David Arut would earn his third win of 2022. After his hard wreck in turn 1, Keith Rocco would revert to another car the following week. A car he has had in the shop for a long time and has won many races. The year has not been kind to the Berlin native. Hard luck and bad results. But the 4-time champion was hoping a different car would bring different results. Brian Narducci would run into bad luck in his heat race. The car broke on the final lap, forcing Narducci to drive John Montesanto's 73 car for the feature. Rocco started race 12 on the pole. A lap 1 accident resulted in Steven Kopchik out of the race, but more notably, Kurt Brainer submarining under Dylan Kopech. All drivers were okay. Kid Rock would lead the entire feature, and the luck had finally turned around for car 57. Keith Rocco gets his first win of the year and his 77th career Stafford victory.
Man, this is incredible. After last week and heck, not even last week, how about the first half of the season? Everything and anything that could have went wrong, went wrong. My whole team for stick behind me. It's been a rough season, but man, we're back.
Among the stories in the SK Modified division is the impressive rookie year for Newtown's Anthony Bello. The Bello Motorsports 51 has scored 6 top 10 finishes. That includes a runner-up finish to Keith Rocco the previous week. The end of July saw drama before the feature. A heat race pileup saw Brian Narducci airborne, also involving Keith Rocco. Despite the repair work, both drivers would be ready come feature time. Michael Jarvis Jr. would grab the early lead. Jonathan Pulio took his turn at the front following a couple early cautions. Steven Kopchik's stretch of bad luck continued after spinning through the front stretch grass. Jarvis would go for a loop in turn 2. Andrew Moeller, who was also trying a different car, would roll the outside past Pulio for the lead. A few seconds later, trouble struck for Pulio.
Pulio's out of shape in turn 2. Pulio goes around in the front of the field, and others become collected.
Point leader Todd Owen would pass Moeller on the restart, but Marcello Refrano was determined to get his maiden SK win, but so was Anthony Bello. In the final laps, Bello was waiting for his moment to try and swipe the lead from the Wheelers Auto 88.
Does that open the door? Now there's contact, back straightaway. Bello gets into Refrano. Refrano's out of shape. Bello takes the lead with 5 laps to go.
For the first time since 2019, a rookie has won in the SK Modifieds. At just 16 years old, Anthony Bello had pulled off a feat very few have accomplished at his age.
This means so much to me. It's really cool to put the red 51 back in victory lane, after Bob Potter did about 22 years ago.
Marcello Refrano was just a few laps away, yet he fell short again. But what better time to finally do one spot better than the 9th annual Napa Auto Parts SK 5K. It's the SK Modified's biggest race of the year, $5,000 to win. Once the drivers honored the fans with the special 3-wide salute, Jonathan Pulio would take control in the race's first laps. Later in the first run, Dan Wesson would make his way past Pulio. The next lead change would involve Refrano, who has led the most laps in the SK 5K. Early cautions would involve contenders like Corey DiMatteo and Ronnie Williams, before contact between Wesson and Steven Kopchik following a restart sparked a melee.
Then he's got trouble in turn 1. They're going to pile into the outside wall. Kopchik, Flynn, Wesson, Ternulo, among others.
Todd Owen made his way to the back bumper of the 88 before sliding on by to take the lead. Another caution brought a restart, in which Keith Rocco goes 3 wide, trapping Owen in the middle and giving Refrano the lead once again. The laps winded down. Refrano was getting closer to paradise, and nobody was catching up to the North Haven native. The 4-year wait had finally ended. In his 67th career SK Modified start, Marcello Refrano was a Stafford Speedway SK Modified winner, taking home the Napa SK 5K.
I don't know what to say, man. I'm out of breath. That was the hardest race I ever drove. I can't even stand up, man. That just goes to show. I mean, I drove my heart out. I was cloud nine there for the last 20 laps. That was everything I had, man.
After the Turn 1 incident between Steven Kopchik and Dan Wesson, an altercation resulted in both drivers receiving suspensions. On the pace laps prior to the 15th feature of the year, Ronnie Williams ran into problems with the distributor, forcing him to the pits. Brian Narducci made contact with Corey DiMatteo on the pace lap, ending the 85's night before the initial green flag. The 40-lap feature went caution-free, with Keith Rocco making quick work from his 10th starting spot. The 57 would take the lead from Troy Talman and take the checkered flag first, giving Rocco 2 wins in the last 4 races. Todd Owens' remarkable consistency has allowed his point lead to grow to a staggering 92 over Marcello Refrano heading into the 16th feature of the season. Jonathan Puglia would lead the field in the early laps. Ronnie Williams worked the outside lane to make his way alongside and beyond the Mr. Reuter 7, placing the 50 car in front. Tyler Hines, Keith Rocco, and Anthony Bello would run into trouble in Turn 1. Williams and Troy Talman would go back and forth for multiple laps before Williams regained control of the lead. The race would stay green, with Williams getting his 2nd win of the year. It's the first multi-win season for Williams and the 50 team since their last championship in 2019. Following a rainout, the final month of racing began with Noah Corner in front. Anthony Flannery would later on endure one of the hardest hits in the SK Modifieds this season, while John Montesanto caught air, going for a wild ride. Both drivers climbed out of their cars on their own. Corner and Corey DiMatteo would battle wheel to wheel for the lead when a multi-car incident involved the likes of Williams, Brian Narducci, and Michael Jarvis Jr. DiMatteo would gain the advantage on the restart, but David Arute would add his name to the hat, leading to an incredible battle between 2 young stars.
This is fantastic racing in the Premier Division that ends with Arute back in front, but DiMatteo sends it. What a move by the 11, back to the inside of Arute. They're still side by side for the lead. This time they've switched lanes. DiMatteo back out in front for now.
And there's still 13 laps to go when they hit the stripe. DiMatteo, Arute, Corner, all part of the battle, as is Todd Owen.
The 11 would pull away in the final laps to claim their 2nd win of 2022. DiMatteo's 3rd career SK Modified victory at Stafford. The 18th feature of the season was not just about battling for the win, but finishing in the top 13 to have a chance at the TC13 shootout, a 13-lap sprint in honor of the late, great Ted Christopher, with extra money on the line. Teddy's nephew, Michael Christopher Jr., took the early lead in the 40-lap feature. Marcello Refrano would soon take control laps later. Christopher attempted a crossover move on Michael Jarvis Jr., but the result was mayhem in Turn 4.
Christopher not giving up, they touch! Jarvis spins in front of the field! They all stack up and they pile in! Andrew Moller's involved, Tyler Hines is in it, Ronnie Williams got a piece, Jonathan Puglia was involved.
John Montesanto's night went up in flames on the ensuing restart. Refrano and Corey DiMatteo had the front row, with DiMatteo looking to pull the crossover off of Turn 2.
Not quite clear of DiMatteo. Ooh, DiMatteo hooks Refrano. The 88 spins down to the grass. Everybody navigates around to avoid. DiMatteo goes around and he slams the guardrail in Turn 3.
Tyler Leary would wind up with the lead until the high roller Andrew Moeller rolled the very high groove to take over the top spot. Leary would try lap after lap to stay underneath the 35 in search for his first SK Modified win. With 3 laps to go, the 1X was there.
Does he have enough? Can he hit the gas and get the momentum to clear to 35? Yes, he can. Tyler Leary to the front, 2 to go.
Looking for his first career win to the inside. They get together at the front of the field.
Tyler Leary gets turned from the lead to a spin. Tyler Leary is out of it with 2 laps to go.
Moeller led the field for the green-white checker, but Jonathan Pulio rolls the top off of 2 to take the lead, seeking his first Stafford SK win. Pulio would hold off the pack of cars, and after enduring a substantial amount of bad luck, Jonathan Pulio became a Stafford Speedway SK Modified winner.
Unreal, man. I was talking to my dad and all my guys, and maybe this just isn't cut out for me, you know, and just the last green-white checkered, I just said, God, I need you, man. I need you bad. And I mean, it's the biggest stage. I don't even know what to say.
Keith Rocco and Matt Vassar were among the final cars to advance to the TC13 shootout, but an accident after the checkered flag took them both out of the 13-lap sprint. Leary and Dylan Kopech would get the nod instead. The top 5 from the 40-lapper were inverted, putting Christopher on the pole. The 82 has struggled all year up to this point, but showed signs of hope after a strong run in the feature. The first 4 laps gave the fans some good old hard-nosed short-track racing.
Sat Narducci, bottom, shot, 3 wide for the race lead.
Christopher has got to be careful. He keeps pushing Arut up the track, and that opens the door for Narducci. 10 laps to go in the TC13 shootout. Arut clears the 82. Christopher trying to get the top spot back with a shot to the back bumper of the 75.
Arut way out of shape off of turn number 4. He may give up the top spot here. Here comes Narducci with a big shove by Marcello Refrano.
What incredible racing. Brian sideways gets into Refrano, collects Todd Owen, collects the 3 of Troy Talman and Tyler Leary. They're wrecking on the backstretch as well.
Arut and Christopher would continue to battle, with the 75 holding the advantage briefly, but Arut's handling began to fade, allowing Christopher to send the eSport Beats PT Watts 82 underneath Arut to take the lead. Christopher had one final challenge from Noah Corner on the final lap.
Christopher blocks the bottom lane. The 31 is trying to get underneath. He pulls to the inside. It's not going to be enough. Mike Christopher Jr. has won the 5th annual Ted Christopher 13 shootout.
Yeah, that'll set in pretty soon here. You know, being with my family and Quinn's here. But right now it's just setting in that we're back in Victory Lane. It might not be a 40-lapper, but you know, here we are. This is what it's all about.
Napa Fall Final Weekend was another case of 2 races in 2 days. Friday's feature started with Troy Talman taking the early lead and staying there for the majority of the race. The feature was slowed by multiple cautions in the first half of the event. In the longest run of the night, Marcello Refrano went after Talman, and right as he completed the pass, the leaders had to avoid a spinning Rich Neary. The yellows continued on, including a mess on the front stretch that took out the top 2 from last Friday's 40-lapper, Jonathan Pulio and Andrew Moeller. Talman would get back by Refrano on the outside to retake the lead as he looked for his first Stafford SK win. But the 88 stayed close, heading to the white flag.
And here comes Refrano out of line, side by side, off of turn number 2 and up the back straightaway for the final time. Marcello Refrano to the inside, Troy Talman to the outside. Going to be a drag race off of turn number 4. Marcello Refrano to the inside and to the win, his 2nd here at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
Refrano successfully backed up his first SK win, making the last lap pass for win number 2. Teams prepared for the penultimate race of the season the next day. Todd Owen had a chance to clinch his 2nd straight championship, entering the race with a 98-point lead. Michael Christopher Jr. would grab the lead early from Michael Jarvis Jr. 1997 SK Modified champion Jimmy Broderick made his return to Stafford this weekend, but his run on Saturday ended with a massive impact against the safer barrier. Broderick climbed out and walked away. Christopher's run at the front hit a detour when the air cleaner came off the car, forcing the 82 to the pits to put a new one on. Keith Rocco would take advantage on the outside lane to hold the point, but Kid Rock would face a challenge from the hotshot rookie Anthony Bello, and the 51 would pull off the pass like he was a 15-year veteran. Like the night before, the 40-lap feature was plagued by a plethora of cautions involving several drivers. Christopher would work his way back up to second after his early problems, but Bello had checked out, taking the checkered flag first, but the win would not last long. An infraction after the feature resulted in Bello being disqualified, losing the win as a result. Michael Christopher Jr. was declared the winner, his first points victory of 2022. Todd Owens' top 5 runs over the weekend was enough for the Summers native to clinch the title, becoming just the 7th different winner to claim back-to-back SK Modified championships. Napa Championship Night was all about ending the year in Victory Lane. The 40-lap feature winded up going caution-free, and it only took 2 laps for Ronnie Williams to go from 5th to 1st. The 50 would lead the rest of the way, giving Williams 3 wins on the year, a great way for the Adam Scavera-led team to cap off the year. Todd Owen would win the war at the end. It took 19 years for Owen to get the first title. This time around, it only took 20 races.
Yeah, it's just a lot to take in. You know, you fight your whole racing career just to try to finally get one, and to back it up is just incredible. It's all these guys over here that work their tail off for me day in and day out to do this crazy deal that we do with all these cars and all these people, and everybody works hard. Everybody does their part. I'm just super fortunate to have them all around me.
Owen may have only scored 1 win, but his 16 top 5s and 20 top 10s led the division. The worst finish of the year for the 81 team was 11th. David Arute, Ronnie Williams, and Steven Kopchak led the SK Modifieds in wins, with all drivers claiming 3. Marcello Refrano had his breakout year in his first season on his own, scoring 2 wins and finishing 2nd in points. Ronnie Williams overcame multiple bouts with bad luck over the year to finish 3rd in the standings, closing out the year with his 3rd victory. Brian Narducci had his best year yet in the SK Modifieds. Despite their own stretch of adversity, the 85 team finished 4th in points with the help of their win back in June. David Arute and the 75 team built off their momentum at the end of 21 to get 3 wins and finish 5th in points, his best finish yet in the division. 12 different drivers took a trip to Victory Lane. 2022 marked the most competitive SK Modified season in over 15 years. Anthony Bello, Marcello Refrano, and Jonathan Pulio made up the SK Modified's first-time winners this year. Bello's impressive season would earn him the Napa Auto Parts Rookie of the Year award. And with that, we move on to 2023. Another year of tight competition is in store for Stafford's premier division. Todd Owen is looking to become the first driver to win 3 consecutive SK championships. But with the amount of drivers that led a lap throughout the season, who knows what to expect when the SK Modifieds are back on track for another year of action.